everybody, and welcome to our next edition of the SCHOTT Pharmaversity podcast. My name is Neus, and I'm going to moderate today's dialogue with our expert, Marius. Hi, Marius.
Hey, Neos.
Nice to have you here. So, for the ones that doesn't know Marius yet, Marius Römer is product manager services at SCHOTT Pharma. And today with Marius, we'll talk about drug submission and the questions arising about what needs to be tested and what not in order to have a successful outcome. I'm sure Marius will bring some light into the often felt labyrinthic process of a drug submission. And I really hope that you get good insights about how to convert this labyrinth into a seamless path. So, Marius, are you ready?
I'm ready when you are.
Perfect. So let's start. So I would dare to say that I know pharma pretty well, SCHOTT Pharma pretty well right now. And to me, it sounds kind of weird that you talk to us about drug submissions. So to start with, what does a primary container manufacturer fit into the role of drug submission?
Yeah. I mean, that's actually a good question because we are typically known for the containers, right? To manufacture the containers, and not in particular to go and be involved directly in a drug submission. However, the container itself is a vital or a critical part in the overall drug delivery system. So historically, we already are involved in supporting the submission process by providing documentations for the regulatory reviews. But this documentation is just one step towards the regulatory approval. So there's still a lot of proof that you have to fulfill or that you have to show that the complete system is working accordingly to various specifications and norms. And a part of that is you have to undergo a precise design verification of your container, the container you have selected. And uh, with this in mind, we as SCHOTT Pharma are, I would say, kind of in the middle, right? So we are not really just the manufacturer, but we are also not the pharmaceutical company who is then eventually submitting the product. So, and with this unique position, I think we are in the fortunate position to know a lot of the details for the submission with the background of knowing a lot of details or maybe nearly all the details about the packaging container. So with that being said, I think we are part of the complete system, and that's how we fit into this whole role of this drug submission process.
Yeah, thank you. And now maybe one step further, could you tell us in a few words where exactly stand the role of SCHOTT Pharma in this whole process of the drug submission?
Yeah, so I mean, I would say there are a lot of interfaces which are, or some of them are very obvious, and some of them are maybe a less obvious. So when you look at the complete chain of the drug development from the early discovery of the molecule all the way to the commercialization of your product, there's interfaces in the early stage where we are selecting together with a pharmaceutical company, we're selecting the right container. So there's a requirement, there's an idea, there's a molecule, and this needs to be then fit into a container. And we have a whole process around that from a design and development perspective towards the analytical services to verify that what we have designed earlier, that this is fitting with the molecule, with the drug formulation, and that there are no side effects you do not want in your early clinical phases or even commercial phases. So, and this unique combination out of these development strategies and the testing strategies is what we call the PartnerLab approach. The PartnerLab approach is an integrated system where we combine our expertises to provide a unique one-stop solution for the pharmaceutical companies or biotech companies.
Okay, so how is the impact of PartnerLabs on navigating regulatory requirements?
Well, as I said in the very early of our recording, we are in the middle position, right? So uh, we are right in the phase where the container is selected. You know, okay, we wanted to go with a vial, we wanted to go with a cartridge or a syringe, and um, we know a lot of these properties and the behaviors of the container. And then, of course, the pharmaceutical company, our customers, they are the experts in drug substance and drug product. So what we are going to offer with PartnerLab is that we are taking the core competences of us as a manufacturer for the containers, the primary containers, and focusing all our efforts in development and testing on our core competences, but leave the customer's core competences regarding drug product on their side without ignoring them, but we are trying to extract the expertise from them, integrate it into our core competence, and then provide the best solution for them and reducing actually their workload because they're typically not the experts for the drug containers. They're typically not the experts on glass. I mean, they know a lot about it because it's their nature to then work with the final product. But in order to reduce the workload from them and to combine the expertise from us with regulatory procedures and our long-term experience, together with the customer's drug formulation, knowledge, core competence, this will fit into this partner lab approach where we are not treating the customer like, okay, you're over there and we're over here. No, it's the opposite. We are working together on the same goal, is that they will eventually release and authorize a drug on various markets to then make the life of patients easier. And I think that's the general or the overall idea on the impact of PartnerLab in navigating the regulatory requirements. And I hope this kind of gets you the idea what PartnerLab is all about.
Absolutely. Thanks. And it makes sense. I mean, to combine the core competencies and to streamline them. Um, so, what my question would be now, it's coming back to the title of your webinar, that's complemented podcast. Now, I liked it that what needs to be tested and what not. So, what could you tell us about the key testing strategies when a pharma company is thinking about a drug submission?
Yeah, well, I do like how you highlighted the title of the presentation because it's clearly a bit of a reference to Shakespeare's Hamlet, right? And it's kind of this idea of this existential question we are all asking ourselves every day. And for sure, it's not like that life is depending on this question for us. But I think if you look at it in particular, it's very often the question you stand in front of a big problem and you have to decide, okay, what should I do now? And then you're grinding your gears and you think, how can I solve this solution? And of course, I think for all of us, we're capable of analyzing the situation and look for solutions, and then we can put the bits and pieces, the puzzle together. But it takes a lot of effort, right? So it takes a lot of work to gather information. And sometimes it's easier to look rather for people who already know these informations. So I think it's no shame to ask for help. I think the bigger shame is to not ask for help and then spend all your energy in wasting your time. So with this now monologue, I would like to focus then on a case on how we develop key testing strategies or how we recommend key testing strategies for particular drug submission for drug containers or drug submission preparation for drug containers. And here I always like to look, as I said at the beginning, for what's already there. Before I start reinventing the wheel, before I start from the beginning, I look in what's in front of me. And the very obvious things are guidelines and standards. So we look at guidelines and standards, and we already know, okay, there are certain things which are required by the authorities to test and to have it on paper, so to ensure that what you have designed is also tested and verified that the functionality is given or the efficacy is given. So after looking and developing a testing strategy metrics on what kind of fields you are in and you have to test, there are in general always 4 key testing requirements for the primary containers. So we're talking about drug interaction. So very easy, the drug is in the container, and then of course it should not interact with the material of the containment system. So it doesn't matter if it's glass or polymer, it should not interact or behave in a bad manner. And then material compatibility. Of course, the material you're going to use needs to fit into the standards, the compendial standards, so that you're not using material which is not stated in the global standards of pharmaceutical containers. And after you have finished those crucial due diligence or tasks, there's the functional testing. And functional testing, well, here I'm looking a bit more into the world of combination drug products, where you have syringes, cartridges, which are then ending up in a drug delivery device, like an auto injector or a pen. Those have to be tested according, for example, the ISO 11040 to make sure that the functionality is given as designed. And combined with the container closure integrity, you make sure that also after a certain life or shelf life, the container is still sterile, right? So, and now I already outlined the kind of basic strategy you have to develop in order to prepare a drug submission for your containers. So, and these evaluations are significant and impacting the test
Absolutely,
efforts.
yeah.
So,
Absolutely. Okay, so now this would be like the best approach. So I guess based on your experiences, Marius, you've seen as well common pitfalls. So which are the maybe most relevance that you've seen, and how could they be avoided?
well, after after my long monologue now, again, I'm trying to keep myself a bit shorter here, but
It's fine. We have
it,
time.
I know, but it's very important because pitfalls and it's especially like obstacles you will meet during or on the way or on the road to drug submission, and I always like to say that that the experience is the summary out of all the mistakes you've made. So, and if you have a big pot or a big bucket of experience, you already made a lot of mistakes in your previous days. And I think there's nothing bad about it because you've learned, right? You grow or you grew out of it. And looking at the pitfalls which others already did or also we did, I think we can precisely say what to do and what not to do, maybe. Yeah. Even though every drug development has its own specialties or its own little pieces who are different, but in general, I would say there are pretty significant indications of what kind of obstacles you will face, you will be challenged with. And I would say one of the most common one is that also what I said in the beginning earlier, that you're not focusing on your core competences. Of course, you can build up competences in packaging material, and you have to a certain extent, but you will never reach like the expertise level of the manufacturer. And that's not to say that we are much better. It's more that, of course, it's our daily business. So it's good or it's smart to take advantage of this manufacturer's knowledge and outsource some of the testings to those manufacturers. And especially if you or like we have already developed a laboratory who can do a lot of testings, and this is in an accredited way and also with validated testing methods. And here, this is the keyword: validated testing methods.
Mhm.
If you're
Okay. Yeah.
if you're starting from the beginning, you have to look, okay, what kind of test would I like to do? How do I test? Do I have the right equipment? And when I have the right equipment, do I have the right personnel? And the personnel needs to be trained, and also they have to develop the testing methods. So
Mhm.
just by saying this, it's a tremendous amount of work you have to go through, and that's why I said outsourcing is nothing to be ashamed of, and also in addition to that, which is a logical consequence, that by outsourcing to a single partner which can already do a lot of the testing for you, what you reduce then is the interfaces. Because Niels, I think also in our private lives, it's better to go to one person who can do a lot of work and for you, or do a service for you, instead that you are taking the management of 5 or 6 different parties. It's easier to have one.
This is correct. Yeah,
So
I mean,
so
this
why
is one of the biggest advantages,
yeah
right, of this PartnerLab. Yeah.
yeah and
Mhm.
why should I do why should I put in all the effort in coordinating a lot of different parties, laboratories, if I can get everything from one party? And also when you look at the time and spending of money and time, it's much more efficient, because you get the harmonized documentation, and you get you have the same guy to talk to, right? There's one guy and you have
Mhm.
a question, you shoot an email to him, he is going to call you back, and then you and I, or he and the customer can talk on the same level and exchange information. Um,
Mhm.
so that
Okay,
that helps a lot.
awesome. Um, so I would have one question before yeah, reaching soon the end of our podcast. So what would be, let's say, a kind of a checklist of practical aspects to be considered during a drug submission process, for sure, without compromising responsibility, quality, and knowledge? What would be let's say your practical checklist?
Well, I would say number one is buy SCHOTT products, obviously. But besides that, of course, the checklist is, well, be aware that the earlier you are investigating solutions for your drug containment system, the better. So I would say the drug development journey is long, but you should not waste, or you should not wait too long until you find the perfect solution. And finding the perfect solution is also to analyze from the very beginning what kind of container is the right thing for me, and not do it just by guessing. Take the advantage of the manufacturer and take the advantage of the manufacturer's analytic capacities. So like I said at the beginning, and very often now, but we are the experts, for example. So we saw a lot of products come and go, and we also can give recommendations on what we see is best. So number one, select the right container, don't waste your time, and do it very early. Then during the clinical phase, do all your testings, your due diligence, check drug interaction, material compatibility, decide very early on in the clinical phase whether to go with a vial or a syringe, because with combination drug products, there will be a big impact on the verification or design verification testing and the design validation testing, which will extend your delivery time significantly. And also here, it's good to have the competence in-house, but if you are not there yet, take advantage again here from the supplier, take advantage from the partner lab we have mentioned earlier, and accelerate the drug submission by reducing the interfaces and by leveraging the existing validated test methods which are in place. So, and then last but not least, when it comes directly prior to the submission step, um, of course, having all the documents in place and also having documents in place which are suitable for the authority review process is crucial, and also have a summary of all the testings right in front of the document to make it easier to have an overview of all the things you have tested, all the results, so that in case there's a deeper dive necessary, you can have an early look. Okay, what have I tested? let's go to this chapter, and then you can make a deep dive. But I think this overview page in front to have on the first side everything on the front page helps a lot also for the authorities to make sure that everything is according to the specifications.
Thank you. So, Marius, we are reaching the end of the podcast. I'd like to ask you to wrap up and highlight the main PartnerLab role within the drug development journey.
Yeah. Well, PartnerLab is certainly not eliminating all obstacles and challenges in the drug development journey. I mean, certainly, or I wish it would be, right? Because from our perspective, solving problems and have a smooth ride during the whole drug development journey and also later in the commercialized phase is our main priority or goal. But there are still additional studies for drug efficacy, stability, etc., which are in the core competences of the customer. But just as you hopefully get out of my out of this podcast is that the time and the investment you can take on those tests, drug efficacy, stability, etc., is more and better invested when you do not have to take care of the primary packaging container tests at all, because then you focus on the core competence where you're good at and you rely on the partner on their core competencies. And I think that's the main idea of the partner lab, that you give away something which is highly critical for you. You give it away to someone who's responsible, who has long experience, who knows how to deal with root cause analysis, for example, when it's ever necessary, and also who's not letting you down when it comes to the spicy discussions regarding the authority submission, and even afterwards during the commercialization phase, that you will have someone to trust and to talk to. And I think without having this big numbers throwing around and how fast you are and how good you are, I think it all comes down to having a good partnership and a good relationship and an honest conversation, and yeah, and then all with the goal in mind to make the best product for all the patients. And
Absolutely.
our slogan is because human health matters, and that's not just because it sounds nice. And I do believe in this, and I think that's the key with PartnerLab.
The driver behind.
Yeah,
Yes, Marius, thanks a lot. Was very nice listening to you. Even for me, this is pretty new, so I appreciate the time you spent with us, and I'm glad we've learned more about the PartnerLab service, which is now fully up and running. So, to the audience, if you want to learn more, so Marius is your guy. Feel free to approach him. Otherwise, as usual, you can always visit our website, shot-pharma.com, for more information. And I would say thanks to the ones listening, and I hope to host you all soon again. Bye bye, Marius, and bye bye, everyone.
bye bye, thanks.